Hi friends, this assignment is not intended to make you do a whole lot of math. This assignment is just intended to make sure that you and I can communicate effectively if we have to go into a distance learning situation. So what we're going to do is we are going to make sure that you can give me equations like these ones and graphs of equations like these ones in an electronic format. And I've given you quite a few options to play with. So you just need to find out what works well for you. You do not by any means have to do all of the things. And I'm going to show you how to do these things so that you are proficient with it. This assignment needs to be done no later than the morning of March 30th. I would really prefer you to do it sometime this week so that we have some time if you find out that none of these things work for you. Okay? Please, please, please do send me any email questions, or we can always we can chat, we can do whatever we need to do. So to start, let's look at this equation. It's from your last test. We have it in our notes from before the test. We should have it in our notes from after the test. We've looked at it as a case of inverse since the test. So hopefully this equation, finding the inverse of f of x, is not super crazy for us right now. Remember, the intention is not for us to be scared of the math or do anything with new content. The entirety of this is just to show that we can communicate from a distance learning perspective. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a few different ways to show our work to find the inverse of this. The first option that I gave you up here is to type your work into the native Google equation editor. To do that, we go to Insert, Equation. Now, all of our lists of options are up here. And so what we want to do is we want to type y equals 3 times the square root of, so we find the math operations drop-down menu and select square root of 2x minus 1. So that's one way to type some of your work. I'm going to show the next step using a different method. It's okay for you to just find one method that works for you. You don't have to try all of the things. I just want to show you all of the things so that you have them as options. The next step I'm going to use is the math type add-on. If you're not sure how to find the math type add-on, I've done a hyperlink for you right here. We can access the add-on from our add-ons menu. If you don't have it, you can go to Get Add-ons. You can find math type by searching it in. Obviously, I have it right here. The district has approved this since the fall. I know that some of you are having issues with it being blacklisted in the fall. The district's approved it, so you should be able to use it. Math type is by far my favorite, and I'll show you why. One reason I really like math type is when I go to the add-ons and I insert a math equation, is it has a handy little dashboard that's going to pop up right here with all of these tabs. It's a lot more robust than the native Google equations editor, and having all of these dashboards are a lot more user-friendly. So the next step for solving our equation or finding the inverse of our equation is to swap our x and our y. So we're just going to type the equation x equals 3. We can use our square root button here, 2y minus 1, and we hit insert. If at first it says there's an error with inserting, that's okay, just try it again. Sometimes, especially with the bandwidth issues that some of you might be experiencing right now, it may take a couple tries. I'm going to do the next step and our next option here, which is the Equatio extension. Again, I've hyperlinked that here for you, or you can find that in the Chrome Web Store. To launch that, we would just come up here to our extensions. Equatio is this little blue diamond. You click on that blue diamond, and right now it doesn't want to work for me. So let's troubleshoot that really quickly. Okay, I got that troubleshooted. So I just click up here on my extension, and it opens up Equatio down here. So you have a couple options for your equation editor if we're using Equatio. One option is this equation editor right here. You can just start typing into it. So the next step in this inverse is x divided by 3. And to get that, I just use the division symbol, equals, and then you can do SQRT for your square root. And then we just do our 2y minus 1 underneath that radical. And then you can click Insert Math. And sometimes also that takes a little bit for it to show up. Now that is going to insert as an image. You can resize that image to make it look like what you want it to look like. If you decide you don't like what the equation says and you have to edit it, you can click Edit Math. Similarly, if you're using math type, you select your image and then you go to math type and you can edit the math equation. Of note, if you're in chemistry, you can do chem formulas in here as well. So another thing that we can do if we're doing our equatio is we can use this handwriting recognition, especially if you have an iPad or a touch screen where you can write. You can do that next step in here. So our next step is to do x over 3 squared, and as you can tell, I'm not using a touch screen and I'm trying to use my mouse, which makes this a little bit tedious. And it's trying to recognize what I want. And it also had my old stuff in there. So this is what I wanted. I got that from the handwriting recognition, and I can insert that. Okay, again, that's going to insert it as an image that we're going to have to resize. So the next step that I want to try is I want to show you using an online equation editor. I've linked to my favorite online equation editor here. The thing that I like about this equation editor is that it's going to do LaTeX for me, but it has this dashboard. So I don't have to know the LaTeX code. So if there's something that I can't figure out how to make Equatio do, if we come back in here, we see that Equatio has a LaTeX editor. So we can always get the LaTeX code from here and paste it into the LaTeX editor utilizing this lovely dashboard here. So the next thing I needed to do was square the left side and use the square to undo the radical on the right side. So we go into here, we have our fraction right here, so we can do x, and then we need to do our exponent squared, and you can, once you start getting things correctly typed, it'll pop up down here and you can see it. Equals 2y minus 1, and you just type that in. That LaTeX code is right here, so you could always copy and paste that into our Equatio, or you could click to download the image. What I like to do is I like to right click, copy the image address, come back into my Google Doc, sorry, wrong tab, and then I can go into insert, image by URL, paste that URL in, make sure it's what I want, and insert it. Again, that inserts the image. Going about it this way makes it a little tough to edit it. So then let's come back in here to the online equation editor and let's look at what happens with our next step. We've got our steps already here, so we don't have to retype everything. We can do the +1 on each side for that next step. But then let's try just copying and pasting the work into our LaTeX here. So we want to get rid of all of that. And that gives us our LaTeX, and we can insert. So if for some reason it's not working for us, we're not sure what to do, we can always do it this way. And then we'd have to resize that. Okay, I'm going to pick up for math type because I really like using my math type. So I'm going to go into add-ons, math type, and I'm going to insert an equation. The next thing we're doing is we're multiplying by the reciprocal of 2 on each side. So we do our x squared divided by 9. So I can come back in here, add my squared +1, and multiply that by a half. Notice how quickly this goes when I can just use my keyboard to type it, which is why I really like it. Some of your normal hotkeys, like the slash next to your shift for your division, you can do shift 6 for your caret for your exponents, and it looks really nice. So now we can insert that into our document. And then what I like to do is I like to copy this, paste it for my next line, click on it, go to add-ons, math type, and edit that math equation. So that's going to import that equation into my math type, and then I can just edit from here, and I don't have to retype everything, which makes it a lot more efficient. So yeah, then we insert, and at that point we have shown our work. Remember, you do not have to go through and use equation editor and math type and Equatio and that online latex cogs. You just need to pick one way that works for you. Try them out. If all of those online things are being a real poop, you're always welcome to do your work by hand, take a quality photo, and upload it as an image to your Google Doc or just to Google Classroom. Please, though, on those photos, make sure they're legible. Sometimes you're doing them at angles or you're doing them from so far away because you want the whole document that I can't read your handwriting because it's just not good enough quality. So you might have to take pictures of your document in sections or chunks and upload multiple pictures. So if you can't read it well, I will probably have troubles as well, which is why I really wanted you to try using some of these electronic formats. Let's move on to the second one that I want you to do. I want you to graph these. So you have a couple of options here. The thing that I'm going to show you is how to use Desmos and Equatio. Equatio actually uses Desmos, and I'll talk about some pros and cons of each of those. So we're going to click in here to Desmos, and we're going to do 2x plus 3. The key thing that I want you to notice from this is that we want to look at our window. We want to make sure that we're seeing all of our key features and we have a really clear picture of the graph. So I'm going to go here and sign in with my Google account. And then I'm going to export the graph. I like to export. You can absolutely copy depending on your firewalls and wherever BBSD is at, what other account you might be logged in as. It might not like to copy. I find that I have the most control if I export the image. So I like to export the image as a medium square. You can go medium or thick line. The thick line does give you some additional resolution when you get it into your Google Doc. And then I download that PNG. I click back to my Google Doc and I can just drag that download straight into my document where I want. That medium square shows up pretty large, so we can resize it so that it takes up a reasonable amount of space in our document. The nice thing I like about this is it's a pretty good resolution. If you notice, you can see our numbers. We can see the line. It makes it clear that we have a y-intercept at 3. So I really am enjoying, I really do like doing it with Desmos that way. We can use Equatio. Equatio does have this graph editor. It is a Desmos graph editor. Let's compare and contrast the 2x plus 3 graph real quick. So if I come in here and I do 2x plus 3, and then there's not much to do. It kind of does everything for you. There's some settings down here that you can work on some settings with our options, but they don't give us a whole lot of options for the math. We can pick a font size, but that's about it. So we go in here to our graph editor. We have our 2x plus 3. We click Insert Graph. It does give us a nice big graph. We don't really get to choose the window that it gives us, which is unfortunate. And when I resize it and we compare, I can't read those numbers at all. So that's a little bit of a bummer when you're using the Equatio graph editor as opposed to creating your image in Desmos. We just don't have as much control over our output. What we can also do is we can try this particular equation. One of the options you have is TI Connect. For TI Connect, you would need to download the software, which I've linked you here. You need to make sure you're getting the correct TI Connect for your graphing calculator. There's the TI-83s. They have a different TI Connect than the TI-84s. And I don't have enough time in this screencast to show you how to do that. So we're not going to go there. Let's just pop into here real quick. Let's do the Equatio. We're going to do our 300.95 to the power of x. We can't really see the graph, so we can kind of zoom out until we can see the graph. We've got our graph now. We're going to insert it. We can resize it really quickly. And we've got a graph. Like I said, not the greatest resolution, but we can do it. The key here is for you to find out what works for you. You don't have to do all the things, you just have to find the things that work. I'd really like to see this in the next week or so that we can troubleshoot if things are not working for you. Remember, email me and we will work on this together no matter what.